Everyone? We'll get started.
Where's everybody?
Angie wasn't sure she was going to make it. She was originally supposed to have a doctor's appointment, but she's a little under the weather, so she was going to
Alright.
try and make it, but
And, okay.
Cliff said he'd be responsible for responsive councils.
Pardon me?
Clip, yeah.
Something to say at council.
Because we asked him for his input the other day. Ted did, and he said he's just reserving his, I mean, he's not even looking at it. He's just waiting for whatever comes out of this and then having his speech at council.
Council to be approved and he will
Voice
Okay.
his
be
concerns.
against it when it gets council. No sense being against it now. He'll just be against it.
What's his beef? You're not like this.
He wants to resolve design review.
Yes.
Okay.
In essence. He wants it,
From the inside out.
he wants it to be an advisory board instead of a board with power. He wants it to be a committee, not a commission.
The public is the same?
Mr.
Get
Slenius
my text the other
is
day.
the same, yes, yeah, they're on the same
Get my
page.
text. I was in I didn't take my phone, I forgot.
Okay.
make sure your mics are on, please.
Mic on?
And
Mic on?
Yeah.
And try to talk into it. My council
Mr.
doesn't.
Finney.
Council doesn't do.
No, push the button.
No.
No, no, yep, there you go. Now you're on. Yep. Okay.
Okay, so do we want to start with chapter 2?
What's wrong with one?
What's wrong with 1? I thought we did 1.
We went
No.
through one, didn't we?
Skip through it.
Okay, we'll start with 1.
Let me start with saying, from the very beginning, we asked them to perform ultimately 3 functions. One was to review our sign code, our guidelines, 2, and 3 was our actual historic ordinance. So, when I glanced through this a little bit ago, this looks like it's just guidelines. So, we still have 2 other documents that they will,
What was the third one?
our ordinance, 1430.
The ordinance
Ordinance,
creating it.
okay.
Reading, yes. 1434.
And they reference that throughout this,
Yeah, correct.
but they haven't given us any feedback on what they think needs to change in that ordinance,
Or the signs, right?
or the signs, right?
But I will say, I don't see the word shall in this at all, in the guidelines. Unless you guys read that,
No, I agree.
where the other guidelines, when Rick Hawksley rewrote them, or whenever they were written, whether it was Rick or not, the word shall appeared, according to Larry, 47 times or 67 times or something like that. So his big push was to remove the word shall and use the word should.
Shall means you must, should means you should.
Correct, correct.
Or you could.
Yeah, I think that was changed at one time, so it was shall,
Sure. Anyway, okay,
is what Ted said.
carry on. Sorry.
But it appears as though they've taken shall out.
Right.
I'm not sure we agree with that. I don't think.
Okay.
But if shall is gone, then the teeth are gone.
Right. I think shall should be in there.
Yeah. That's what, I think that's what Bob's saying.
Right.
You know, Bob can't say that,
Where-
but Bob can encourage us to say that.
Well, I can encourage, if that's what you want, then
Yes.
that's something that needs considered.
When Rick rewrote it, he put shall in, and that's what Larry was grousing about, that shall is in there so many times.
Yeah.
You know, as we go through, if we don't see shall, then that'll be one of our comments back to them, that where you have should, it should be shall.
Correct. I agree with that.
Everyone in agreement with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that something that should be voted on?
Well, I don't know, do we have to vote on every change we're talking about?
I'm not sure. I'm the, you know,
I didn't hear that question.
Do we have to vote?
I said, should it be voted on?
should we vote on every
Definitely.
change? or-
Definitely, so that we.
Or just when we're done? Everything's recorded, she's taking notes. Do we go through, and then at the end, we make a motion
That would be more
to
practical.
forward all of the things, rather than every time somebody
Yeah.
makes a change, we have to vote on it?
No, that'd be
This
more
will get
practical.
tedious if we're voting on every.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
that's,
mean, if we're
making
in
sure.
a agreement,
Agreement,
if
right.
we're in agreement, then we just move on, and that becomes part of what we
good.
approve at the end.
Okay. I mean,
So I see on page 2 of section 1 that we are to write a paragraph about the common activities of historic preservation and why.
Can you tell me what page you're on?
Page 2, first paragraph.
012.
Section 1, page 2.
I got that. Okay.
Write a paragraph.
No.
So is that
Page
our
one.
charge to write this for perspectives? I think,
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. It seems that they've called this out with the yellow highlighter, that they're asking our input.
yeah. I don't know if we can find a paragraph that would be
page.
applicable.
Next page over.
What do you want?
That one. That's the page we're on.
I mean, as we go through, there's
That page.
plenty of examples of why we should be doing
That
this.
page.
I don't know if, this is kind of the
That's the one
beginning.
we're at.
Right.
why don't we go back to that?
It's a little bit of a purpose of why we're here. It should be
Right.
written.
Thank you.
We want to skip that for now and go back to it later? Or,
Well, if you go to the next paragraph, historic design, it kind of covers some of that.
yeah, it does.
Maybe that's good enough. Just use that paragraph, that,
Yeah, we could always fall back on our original ordinance, the brochure of why design review is created, preserve, and,
yeah, there's a pretty good list here.
yeah. I didn't bring my notes with me, but, or my, I didn't bring my folder with me from design review with that, the original pamphlet that was passed out. We could pull something from that, why design review is being created.
Well, those 6 bullets down at the bottom pretty much say the whole
Yeah.
story.
That's what I'm
That's
thinking.
what he's saying.
We can take the Latin out of there and the question out and just leave that. Historic preservation, then historic designation,
I would agree.
okay?
Do we make any reference to the ordinance section or in this,
Yeah.
in here,
I think so.
in this section? In these 6 bullet points? Add 7th and
Well,
reference the ordinance or no? I'm just asking the question.
I think those questions that you brought up, Mr. Finney, about signs should be put in there and guidelines. I don't know.
Was the signage going to be a separate document?
I'm expecting so, yes.
Okay.
You don't
They
think it's
have
gonna
not
be,
addressed it.
it's not gonna be under guidelines?
No, signs were different.
It's separate.
Signs were separate.
Okay. So are we gonna reference a separate document for signage then?
in regard to historic preservation?
Signage addressed on,
I would think that, that could be another diamond at the bottom.
Yeah.
yeah, I think so.
Referencing the signage code.
Is it a separate document?
It will be. It is now.
Yes, it is now.
And reviewed at a later time then? It's presently in a document that will be reviewed at a later date.
Correct.
Okay. Is that clear, Julie?
Sure, clear as mud.
Love it.
Mud's the wrong word, Joe.
Yeah, so we're talking about adding the signage right there. Yeah.
Okay. What are we doing, President? Are we going through page by page?
Yeah, go ahead.
On page 4, I was, Design Review Commission, role and responsibilities. Talks about a register of historic places and national landmark and historic district, city of Ravenna, listed properties in parentheses. And that should be available, maybe attached to this as an appendix. So somebody could see that without having to go someplace else to get it. You know, and that comes up in some of the other ones. Should we have an appendix with different things that we could have here so that it would be more encompassing?
It's a good point.
Okay. On that same page, one thing that I thought was missing. All the other chapters start with something like this, a big O and the name, whereas this one on page 1 has nothing.
No, it's for you.
I gotcha. That is page 4. Okay,
Of chapter 1.
never mind. I don't know whether that list needs to be in here, as long as it's available.
Under purpose? Are you on page 4?
Yeah,
Under purpose on the left-hand side, that list?
No, I think he's referencing the list of historic places, correct?
what you were talking about the
that-
list of
okay.
historic places. I don't know whether we need to include that list.
Okay.
Well, if this is gonna be online, can that just be a link? It doesn't need to be in a paper document, but if it's online, it can just be a hyperlink to
Yeah,
wherever that list is.
Okay, as linked in, then describe it then. In parentheses, link, as linked in the webpage? Is that what we're gonna say? Somebody might want to find it. I just wanted to make it easy for them to find it. That's all I was saying.
so at the end of the first paragraph under role and responsibilities, see online link for,
Do we
List.
have that, or is that somewhere in the City of Ravenna site, or
Not right now.
no?
Yeah, I think it should be linked in wherever it is. Or wherever we're going to put it. So somebody could find it.
Where do you find it now? On
I have
paper
no-
somewhere?
I have no idea.
I'm sorry. What was,
The list of designated landmarks, historic places.
oh, scroll down or turn a page, you'll see a map. There it is.
So it's those 6 dots, that's what,
That's what's on the Federal Register. Yes, that's
okay.
it.
Oh, okay.
Or the National Register.
Okay, so we have it then. Okay,
So I don't need, I'll scratch that then.
I stand corrected. Sick.
But then is there more information about what that dot is?
Well, it is if you go another page. The next page has the key.
Oh, I know, but I get the key, but what is each one, or what's its significance, or what's?
Okay, just to muddy the waters a little bit, Peggy DiPaolo came into my office this morning, and Jack Schaefer left some money to make plaques for the historical buildings. And she's going to make one as an example and bring it before our commission here. It's not going to cost anybody any money because he left the money to do it. So those 6 could be plaques approved and installed on those buildings. So
That'd be great.
I think they have plaques on them now, but they were wood that were painted and you can't hardly read them anymore.
yeah, like you have, Diana, in your porch.
Yeah, it's lasted a long time, actually. That was from the Heritage Group,
She's,
and it was painted.
through Jack's Foundation, they're gonna make them out of cast aluminum. Pretty,
Yeah.
and they'll come before us for approval, and
Remember, design review was gonna split the cost if any residential homes folks were interested. And we had an application, but I don't know that it got followed through with. Not from our end, but. So that's still, we have a process if Peggy's group is willing to buy more,
Well,
unless she's just interested in existing.
on page
national
6, where it talks about districts and maps, this is subject to change, and the most recent copy is available at the City of Ravenna Building Department. So a list of those properties should be available at the building department. If it isn't, then we need to come up with that document so that Tiffany can hand it out if somebody comes and asks for it.
On page 6, you said,
Yeah.
jumps to 8.
But on page 5, we talked about this. Do I need a certificate of approval? Clean and repair, and we got to paint my previously painted building a different color, which is under yes. Were we going to leave that under yes?
I think we should. A different color.
I think we should.
The sentiment of design review over the years is wanting a color from, say, a Sherwin-Williams historic color palette. That was what they would verify of any color, whether it was just a different color white. They were asking to see the color palette. Am I saying that right? A historic color palette? Okay.
And in the paragraph
Yes.
right above, the paragraph to the right on page 5, it says zoning permit should, using the word should, be made to the chief building official. So that pretty much covers it. If we leave the yes on there, I don't know what maybe means. Not very clear word.
Well, I think what they're probably referring to is if a repair of handrails or porch steps may require, so, and we get this, I get it all the time. I'm just gonna replace a couple boards on my deck, and I show up and there's all new joists. I thought you were just redoing, well, it got worse, and so,
We know how that happens.
I do, but
Well, then it should
I
get.
try
a
to trust
permit.
people. That's why it's in the maybe section.
Okay, that makes sense then.
And the paragraph on the left, it says property owner will be required to acknowledge all, identify the form. So those are the forms we currently use?
Where are you reading at, Lou?
What was,
Yeah,
what,
we're reading that, what page?
It's highlighted, identify
above
form.
On
Identify
5, it's
form.
highlighted on the left.
Oh, okay.
Oh, different, yeah, hold on.
Property owner will be required to know.
Property owners shall be required to acknowledge all necessary approvals prior to commencing with work. And then it says identify the form here. Would that be one of the current forms that we use?
Well, that would be a building permit, plumbing permit.
Application.
I was going to say, they have to sign off on the application.
The owner does?
Yes, I do not accept an application without,
Yeah, it's
Them
clear
approving
throughout
it.
this document, the owner has to do that.
Okay. In the COA block at the bottom there, do we make any kind of, or put an item in there that says location of mechanical units on roof?
Location of what?
Mechanical units on roof?
We could add that.
I mean, those are the questions we've had the last couple of meetings with Etna House and then Riddle Block 1.
Should be in there.
Could be added to the third one from the bottom when it says add or change signage, light fixtures, appurtenances. That could say HVAC equipment.
All right, we'll just add language here that says that.
And then the one above it, windows, doors, storefront, roofing, siding, probably could go into either one of those. Or we could make it a separate one by itself.
If you have it on the third one from the bottom, it would cover it, I think.
Yeah, we could just add it.
I think it's probably better to go into signage, light fixtures, HVAC equipment, appurtenances. Slide it right in there.
Okay,
Okay.
yes.
Lou, to answer your question, I think above the yellow, the yellow that says identify from here, I would think that the property owner would be required to acknowledge all necessary approvals prior to commencing with work permits.
Ah.
So before they even get a permit, they need to discuss what they're doing, and then we would direct them in the direction that they need to go.
Okay,
Generally, Tiffany knows to look at the address when an application is filled out, to flag it as historic district. And then she gets me involved. If it's a simple roof, she's able to just give, grant a permit. Certain things, she can just grant a permit without approval. If it's a construction permit, I would normally have to look at it. But if it's just a plumbing or depending on what it is.
right.
But if it's in the historic district, she sends it to me to look at, no matter what it is. Obviously, there's been a few that have slipped through, on a crazy busy day, but
Okay.
she knows.
And when you say she,
Tiffany knows to
Tiffany,
to look
okay,
for
that's-
those addresses.
all right.
We should probably not use her name, it probably should be your assistant or the clerk or.
Permit clerk,
Permit
permit
clerk, yeah.
clerk, you could call it.
I'm good up to page 8. I don't know,
What's on,
pardon me?
did we
Yeah.
talk about changing 14 to 30?
Yep, we did. I don't know if everybody agreed or if that's the right number or whatever.
14 to 30, would it,
Days, this is page 8,
okay.
Second paragraph, middle.
on the left, yeah, second paragraph on the left. It's saying that we have to give approval in 14 days. Well, if they bring it in, or we get it on the day of our meeting, that would require a special meeting. So we were suggesting that we have it so that we can approve it at the next meeting.
Okay.
And would that mean we'd have to change what's in page 9 too?
Page 9, yep. In the tree there, 14-day review period, make it 30 days, and then the same with the appeal, 30. Seems to make sense.
Bottom of page 10, where it says renovation, you down to the last sentence, it says construction drawings may be required for final DRC approval. I was thinking about and/or photographs. I know I got that from you. Just plagiarize you. No, I'm just,
Yeah, because we require photographs, but I think we should describe that as photographs as is, and then as proposed.
No,
On renovation, page 10, bottom paragraph on the left.
I have a note from the meeting the other day that says original photos and photos of what they intend to do.
Perfect. I think it's perfect.
and then under demolition, same page. You get about halfway down, it says architectural features so as to produce or tend to produce. Should that word be intend or tend?
I think tend was correct.
Tend? Okay, I'm just, you know. I only went to college, I'm trying to, just checking. Just trying to make you understand, I did read this, okay?
My issue with that whole paragraph under demolition is how does design review stop a person from letting their building fall into disrepair? I mean, it says it, neither the owner nor a person in charge of the structure or within a historic district shall permit the structure or landmark to fall into state of disrepair. Of course, but we would say that about any house too, but I guess what's the significance of this?
Is that a building department issue?
Well, we would handle with property maintenance if that were the
Yeah.
case, right? We would send them violations. But I'm just not sure what the intent of this is. I know there's been issues in the past with a couple buildings being demolished in a historic district, and it was very emotional. But other than asking politely, unless it's somebody else's money, the property owner is gonna do what they want. Any home that falls into disrepair, we're gonna send them violations through property maintenance. I'm not saying it should be taken out, I'm just not sure what the significance is. And same thing with relocation. I've never relocated a house, but
Well, that paragraph talks about, the title's demolition, but it doesn't say anything about demolition. It just talks about disrepair.
right, that's a good point too.
Yeah.
So that
So it said-
paragraph could almost slide in under restoration. Or maybe it just needs its own disrepair or something like that.
Yeah,
Instead of
it
demolition.
doesn't really talk about the fact that someone wants to tear a building down.
But I thought toward the end of all this, they get into demolition and what should be done.
That's section 11.
Yeah.
It might be that should be taken out because it's covered in section 11.
Well, let's change that. Instead of demolition, we'll put disrepair. And then as far as relocation, if it's addressed later on, then we'll look at it then. Again, relocation, asking somebody to lift a house and move a house, that's difficult. That's with power lines and everything else, it's really not feasible.
So on page 11, building exterior maintenance, it's asking us, I guess, to write something here.
For relocation, you said? Is that what you were,
Well, on page 11,
Oh,
it
11.
talks about building exterior maintenance,
It's all
foundation walls and roofs.
Greek.
It's gibberish, it's,
oh, that's the Italian. So what we were told is they're going to, this is just a placeholder for now. They're going to update it in the near future. Isn't that what was said, Julie?
Yeah, they'll take it from whatever sections or whatever, and
they're gonna fill that in.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find what I was said, because I questioned it
Rest
when I
of that
started
chapter,
reading this in the
section
past.
is all gibberish.
well, I forwarded that on to
Oh, you did, okay.
all of them.
Okay,
Yep,
good enough then.
once I got a response from Polly
I think somebody else actually
or
sent it to
whoever,
me.
yeah.
Just said this is a placeholder. They will,
So that holds for page 12 under windows and porches.
yeah, because the rest of this document is in Latin. I'm sorry, it was Latin. Latin. So we'll just move on to the next section because there's nothing.
Just
for us
moved it to section 2, page 1.
Yeah.
Section 2, page 2.
Section 2, page 2, bottom paragraph, right?
Yeah,
We're not a 9-member commission?
we're a 7-member commission, correct?
Right. Isn't that right?
Well, it'd be an 8-member commission.
8 with
Because-
7 voting.
Yes, because Bob would be the breaker of a tie. So that's why it's 8-member. It was 9-member,
I know, okay.
so,
I'm just, the 9 was wrong.
So it's 8 and 7. Oh. Your position in the very beginning? I don't know whether anyone.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Anyone caught
I
that on the
seen
very first page?
Yeah,
Julianne Ring, City of Ravenna, Chair of Design Review Commission. She got a nice promotion.
here, you want to see my note?
No. Am not, don't want to be.
Nope. Well, the chair would be the mayor. Or his designee.
So on page, so section 3, page 2, this is the second 2.
2, page 3.
Oh, 2, page 3, I'm sorry.
What page?
Section 2, page 3,
This chart.
the chart. Number 9, to maintain a detailed inventory of the listed properties and historic district. So that's part of our responsibility. Where are we keeping that, or where do we intend to keep?
Supposed to be at the building department.
Is it there, Mr. Finney?
Yeah, there are no listed properties in the historic district other than what was on the map, the National Register.
Okay, so we have it in this document then.
Right, we have it in the document,
Okay,
right. Now, as Diana's house, for instance, but she's not in a historic district.
right.
And there may be others that I'm not aware of, that aren't, on the register.
From what I understand, anything over 50 years is historical. So the whole city is.
Right, but it's not been requested to be added to a list.
Right.
And again, we tried to do that. Design Review tried to do that. There was a man on Riddle Avenue that was interested, and I'm sorry?
I think it got voted out.
I don't know that I think somebody got in his ear and he ended up going a different direction. I think is exactly what happened.
Okay.
After the application was filled out and approved by Design Review. So, that was, this is a sidebar, but the application stated that they would be subject to Design Review from that point forward if the city put a plaque on. But if there's no review from Design Review, then anybody could buy a plaque themselves and stick it on their house and call it historic without even putting on a national register. The advantage was they could possibly get grant money through the local government, certified local government, if they were on this
And/or
list.
tax credits and
And/or tax
other things that are available.
Right. But if they're not interested in that, then
Are
they
we
don't
the,
want.
are we the body that can locally list historic property?
We can, but to just make a list, there's no enforcement. It would just be a list. And like you said, you could take the original village, list every house that's still standing, whether it's a nice looking house or not.
But if someone wants to have their house listed, is this the board that accepts that?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So if I'm not mistaken, there's the national, but there's also the state. Does the state have a historic board, or is it only a national board from historic? That's something that I don't know.
I think it comes over number 3 on this page. To review and act on historic applications. Excuse me.
I don't think the state does inspections and does that.
Okay,
6 that are listed are federally listed. And people came in from the federal government and the state of Ohio and approved those 6 buildings. There were a number of other buildings that they looked at.
okay,
They looked at my building and said, your building doesn't have the detail that it used to have, which was kind of it was plain Jane when it was built. And at some point, the Riddles made it an Italianate building and put a big Italianate projecting top on it and brackets and everything else that was on the building for 40 years or more. And then as it became deteriorated, they tore it off. And it went back to being a plain building. So it had a period of grandeur. But when they came to look at it, they had photographs showing an Italianate facade that was no longer there. So it didn't qualify. Which is probably just as good, because otherwise the changes I've made would have had to gone through the federal process.
so I would think Design Review would assist the applicant that wants to be part of the National Register
Or locally registered,
or locally registered, right?
okay? Which basically, that's what it says, to review and act on applications.
And then put into the inventory. I'm all right with that. If we're going to go into page 4, section 2, again, we have that 14-day thing. We want to change to 30 on 2 locations there.
And then the next page, is it business days or calendar days? We've always considered it calendar days. On Next page.
Well, yeah, because it should probably be 31 because calendar, I mean, our meetings are 30 to 31 days apart. I guess. I don't know. I haven't looked.
Well, what,
Maybe it should be 31,
or is it 40?
or is it 40? I don't know. We don't want to make it too big.
They have to submit prior to 10 days of the meeting? Is that what it's supposed to be?
Yes.
Well, then we act on
So
it.
if they submit 9 days before the meeting, they can't make this meeting, they would make the next month's meeting, in which case it would be 39 days before we would meet.
Yeah, it could get enforced at that. So we better make it 40.
Why don't we just leave it at 30 and people know that it has to be submitted within 10 days prior to the meeting, scheduled meeting. Then the clock starts after that next meeting. Then it'll get, to me, I'm gonna have to, Julie and I are gonna have to do more explaining if somebody sees, what's 40 days? But I understand what you're saying. It could be 31 days, it could be 29 days.
So we want to go to 30 calendar days.
Correct. Yes.
And then, so then that's designated on page 5, section 2, second paragraph on the left.
Yep.
Where it's highlighted at 14 business days, should be 30 calendar days.
Same page, last paragraph, COA not required if they're repainting the same color. Is that okay? We're letting them repaint the same color? I've repainted my building twice, and they've always been 2 shades of gray, but I'm not sure that they've ever been the same 2 shades of gray.
I just repainted a couple weeks ago and it was a shade darker, but that's just what it turned out to be. I think if it's a lot of busy work if somebody's just repainting existing.
Yeah, I think we can leave that one, just let them repaint the same color. Any questions on page 6?
That project checklist is the application form. Are we saying that? Under level of review, required top paragraph, left side, page 6, section 2. Following summarizes the level of review for an applicant. DRC will use the City of Ravenna project checklist. I presume that is the application form,
Yes.
wouldn't you think? Yeah. Okay, I'm good with that. And page 7, section 2, I don't, that relocation comes up again. I don't know. We've already beat that to death.
Well, it's in Latin again, so.
Yeah.
And again, what's under demolition is what we just changed to disrepair.
Right. So we want to change that to disrepair then?
Yep. Demolition's got 1 page back on
Right.
11.
Or we just put an X through it, because we're gonna deal with it.
Well, that's better because it's in section 11, yeah.
So I'm crossing it off?
Are we crossing it off, or are we going to make it disrepair?
Well, we already made this repair, though.
Okay.
We retitled it page 2 or 3.
4 pages ago.
Yeah.
So now we just take it out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Taking the whole thing,
that paragraph.
the whole paragraph.
Are we going to leave relocation in, or does this whole page go away?
Doesn't seem very applicable.
Now,
Yeah.
Chapter 11, page 2. Page 1 is demolition, page 2 is called moving,
Okay, so we have
instead of relocation. Page 3 is called salvage.
same word.
So are we relocating or are we moving?
Well, it says it's preferred to move it. Page 11, section 11, page 2.
Moving is preferred over demolition, right?
Yeah.
But previously, we've called that relocation, and they get back there and they call it moving. I think I think page 7 could be taken out in its entirety,
Yeah, because 11 handles it all, demolition and moving.
yes. So I think this whole page can come out.
So the library goes.
Nice old picture of the library.
Carnegie.
Implement it somewhere else.
I don't have anything on page 8.
No, I don't either.
Page 9, though, I do.
Hang on.
Benefits of design guidelines.
Eric.
Oh, I just, on page 8, similar to what we were talking about, the last paragraph on the left side basically does state that if a property is listed on the National Register, it's honorary only. Does not prevent the owner of the property from maintaining, repairing, altering, selling, or even demolishing with other than federal funds, meaning they can't use federal funds to do those things if they're not gonna meet what the National Register standard is. It does not obligate the owner to make repairs or improvement, nor does it automatically make it subject to local design review.
Oh,
So I just thought you guys might find that interesting. But, okay, we can move on.
we should take not out of there. It does obligate the owner to make repairs.
Well, they're saying it may not. It does not prevent the owner from making repairs. It does not obligate the owner to make repairs or improvement to the property.
But the property does, it automatically, it should, I don't think nor should be in there. It does,
So I guess there would be two things. We are already covered. If it's in the historic district, then they are obligated.
so we covered it.
But if it's somebody on Riddle Avenue in the future that said, hey, I want to be part of this, because design review is covering that too, I believe. It's covering
Outside of
properties
that.
outside of design review that are on the National Register. Or am I thinking about that wrong? Are we only dealing with the historic district? So when we created that document for the plaques, they were stating by signature they're willing to be under design review.
Outside of the district.
Outside of the
possibly.
district, correct,
In or out?
correct.
Oh, yeah, I think we did. So, yeah,
So,
so we have to put verbiage in there that says in or outside the district. If it's on the register, it's subject to design review
if
criteria.
they agree to be under design review, then they are.
I think that's correct. I think we did, yeah.
But, somebody on North Chestnut Street that's not in design review, they themselves could, I expect, place their house on the National Register that would not be part of design review because they didn't agree to it.
But they could agree to it.
They could agree to it, correct.
How are we gonna write all that?
I don't know, we'll
You
figure
have
it
that,
out.
Julie?
Put an asterisk there, Julie, see Bob,
Yeah,
try to get to it.
yeah, but that's correct. I didn't know about their option of having it that way or not, under design review or not, but I guess we'll write that out properly. Yeah.
It's like, I don't think that the buildings that are listed on the National Register have to conform to the building code.
Oh, really?
Like railing heights and things like that. Makes sense.
Yeah. Because you can't go into those buildings and mandate changes to meet the code that changes the historic building.
That kind of puts the historic guidelines in the ADA at odds.
Yeah, it does.
So on page 9 of section 2, top paragraph, these design guidelines will be updated on an ongoing basis. Should we put a schedule in there so that we don't let this slide for 25 years?
What page are you on?
I'm on page 9 of section 2, top paragraph.
It's the third sentence.
3/4 of the way down, the
Purpose of it.
design guidelines will be updated on an ongoing
Ongoing
basis. I think we should put a schedule in there. Every 5 years, 10 years, 20 years?
Guidelines will be reviewed and updated as needed on a 3-year basis or something like that?
3 years goes by too quick.
5 years? There you go, 5 years then.
Okay.
Yeah,
We're using review or updated.
I don't know about that as needed. I just reviewed every 5 years.
okay, that's fine. Be reviewed every 5 years, yeah.
So divide that into 30,000 to 6,000 a year liability we're putting on the council, on the. Okay.
Do we need the map again? I said, do we need the map again?
I don't know why.
That's the second time it's in there,
Just
right?
filler?
We don't need filler.
Unless they have a specific reason to stick it in there.
Oh, I don't know why. Take them out. Go on to page 3. Sure. Go on to section 3, Chair.
Yeah. Go on to section 3.
Did you guys see say page 13 of section 2?
It's a blank.
I'll read it though. I'm just asking a question, I don't, because they're gonna ask me or Bob in regards to this, so.
What is our most successful preservation effort?
Phoenix Block?
What?
Phoenix Block?
Or Riddle 1,
Riddle 1? That's before and after pictures.
Fort Burke?
You could do the after and before.
Well,
The current courthouse
really,
and
it
the old
should be Riddle
courthouse.
1, because that put money into the rotating fund. It was really a significant project.
Okay,
Works for me.
put in a
Right.
picture of Riddle Block 1.
Riddle 1.
we have a before and after?
Well,
Like-
before,
like
yeah.
Patrick said, do we have a before and after?
Pretty much looked the same after, because we did it to the historical preservation guidelines.
About some
But I mean, was
fire
it in
pictures.
decay? Would the picture show decay prior to preservation?
Oh.
Or even after the fire pictures?
Yeah, maybe in a fire picture, sure. I
Prior-
don't know who would have those. Okay.
Are we taking out page 10 and 11? That
Yes.
map?
Yeah.
Okay, X out.
Good catch, Miss Julie.
Now, section 3.
What's title mean?
It's the wrong word.
Even need anything there? The header already tells you what it is.
Yeah. There was nobody here in 1860 through 1890.
We really don't, I mean, history's a history, unless we wanted to, I guess they're looking for a title. Do we even need a title? It already is.
I don't think so.
We don't need
All
a
right, cross that title out. I'm not gonna contest, I don't know, are any of us gonna contest this history line?
No,
Nope.
Okay. Moving on.
we can easily find a copy of the first courthouse.
I just heard Wayne Enders give a talk on the history of Ravenna this last week, which was excellent. He's done all this history, has all these photos. He has a picture of the first courthouse, has a picture of the first, all the ones remaining afterwards. He showed buffaloes of being here at the very beginning. It was very interesting, and that wasn't like part of his talk. But there would be photos available on some of those things that could be put in here.
You know, they're looking for photographs.
Yeah, that's on page 4 of 3.
Yeah, 304. Where was the Pennsylvania-Ohio Canal?
It says that in front.
I can tell you that. You have to talk to Wayne.
Where did it go through Ravenna?
He talked all about the canals and the railroads,
In 1840 it was there.
and
Came to
Benjamin
Ravenna.
Tappan and what he laid out when he came here, how he laid everything out. Actually, I told Peggy DePaulo, she thought this group should hear that talk. But it was like, we tried to get him down to only half an hour, but it's well worth listening to. And the pictures that he has.
I think it's where the CSX rail is, coming through town. That was the start of the canal.
Where was it?
The CSX, I think, is that right, Larry? Yeah, it runs. Yeah, it runs east and west where CSX rail is, crosses Lake Avenue, or Chestnut.
I don't recall ever seeing any remnants of a canal. Or is that the Wahoo Ditch?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Is the
Not the
Wahoo Ditch
Wahoo.
part of the canal?
No, 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 that's too far north. This is South Chestnut.
What's the canal on Hammond? Isn't there a canal next to Hammond?
The Hammond ditch, right, that there becomes a Hammond ditch, but that's basically drainage for the railway. I don't know that Hammond ditch was actually part of, but it might have been an
I mean, there
original
should-
ditch that,
They didn't fill the Pennsylvania-Ohio Canal in, did they?
yeah, absolutely.
They filled the whole thing in?
They dug it out and filled it in.
They dug it out and probably filled it back, yeah, that's what the railroads did.
11 years after they built it.
Huh? I don't know that they ever finished it, though.
What it
I
last,
don't think it ever
25
went
years?
clear to Youngstown. That was the intent, but then the rail bought it and did what they did.
The canal came in 1840.
Went out in 51, I mean.
Yeah, it didn't last long.
So it was only 11 years?
Seems that way. So it was abandoned in 1863. No, the railroad. Oh, wow, whatever.
So I think they were diverting water from the Breakneck Creek into that canal. And like
That's the
damming up
closest water
Breakneck
source.
and pushing it this way, yeah, to the Cuyahoga.
Most of the other canals around have all, they're still there.
The rivers, they're more or less that were.
Yeah, I mean, the canal coming out of Cleveland down through and through Akron, that still has.
Well, on page 4, they want some pictures, so Wayne Enders would be the,
Well, yeah, there was somebody else that talked to beta cirrhosis that last year that would have all that information on all the
Right.
canals. But he died, unfortunately. But his wife might have a picture. I'll ask. If she knows.
Okay.
yeah.
Done with it.
All right, we're done with this section?
Yep.
All right.
Go on to 4.
So page 1 that says, in the highlight area there says appendix B. I didn't see an appendix B. Do we have that?
We don't have an appendix in this document, but it's probably gonna be somewhere that they're gonna,
Well, we need to have them have it. That's
yeah.
all. They're asking for more pictures, I guess, or examples. I don't know.
It's important to be able to describe, critique, and prioritize components of typology and style in architecture. Getting in depth there. We're gonna let them figure that out. How about that? They're gonna have to figure out what they want.
Anything else in 4?
Well, on page 6, well, I would just think it would be nice to be able to use examples of Portage County buildings instead of some other city. Pictures, I mean.
Examples of what? Sorry?
Well, on page 6, they have buildings that aren't necessarily meeting the criteria changed or something. It seems like we could get pictures from Portage County that, rather than another county. It'd be nice.
So do we have pictures of, say, the Phoenix, before and after?
Well, it doesn't have to be Ravenna only. I mean, Garrettsville has a storefront, Manaway has some, Aurora has a little bit. You know, instead of other towns, I'm just thinking it would be nice to have.
I think what they're showing is, they're showing the before and after.
046.
So what would we have? I mean, Phoenix comes to my mind because of, it looked pretty tattered and had an emergency escape on the front. And,
Well, it also looked a whole lot different when it was originally built.
well, that's true too.
Which one's that?
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Well, anyhow.
But you have a good point, though. I mean, why have,
If we could do it, if they could do it.
I mean, this is a really good example that someone back in the 60s or 70s put that storefront on over 2 of those, and then when it was removed, those 4 storefronts were all contiguous, and somebody had 2 of them and covered them up.
We had the restaurant in my building. It was like that.
Right.
What was the name of that restaurant?
Widener's.
Widener.
Widener's, Isley's?
Very similar on a smaller scale.
I guess that would be something to ask, but we probably are gonna have to furnish something if they want something, because they're going through their,
Done before.
I thought these pages in here were well done.
Which, in four?
All, this whole section,
Yeah.
where they're showing what's appropriate, what's inappropriate, and the fact that you don't have to put full-blown Corinthian columns in, you just need to simplify details sometimes are fine.
Any other questions on 4? We're on to 5?
Again, I think the section is well done.
Diana,
Didn't you want to add Greek or something?
she wanted sugar maple, like a sugar maple with the Greek revival.
Right.
And then, because, didn't you say your house and DeCello's
Yeah.
is considered Greek
They've got-
revival?
But they're not in the historic district. But, yeah. they
Well,
should be.
I don't know that makes,
Well,
They're
what's-
just styles,
what's
not
Greek
necessarily
Gothic
what's here.
compared to Greek Revival? They keep saying Greek Gothic. I was told my house was Greek Revival and both houses, along with, the one up on Chestnut Street beyond, across from, the gas station that they're redoing. That was Walter Webb's house. It's another Greek Revival. They call it Greek Gothic Revival. Front of the page.
well, that belongs back in here with home pictures.
Yeah, but everywhere I've looked, all I found was everything was called Gothic. I never saw Greek. There's gotta be some difference.
Well, yeah, that
So this Gothic revival is like,
that's a commercial building.
yes, it's commercial. and it's in
You
the
need to,
historic
you need to
district.
get back into the residential section where they show all the residential sections, and that's where Greek revival houses need to be.
But does it list Greek revival as one of them?
No,
That's what I'm saying.
gabled L,
That should.
4-square bungalow.
Right.
Dutch
Are we
colonial.
adding Greek revival
Should
then
have
or
Greek
not?
revival. Pardon?
Are we adding Greek revival? Or
I don't
asking
know, I'm
them
just
to?
wondering why they didn't.
I would think we certainly could. We've got examples of it.
Because there's not too many in
We've got
Orange
really
County
good
that are
examples of it.
listed as
Yes,
Greek
we do.
Right.
revival.
All right, so we want to ask them
nice
to
to add
add,
that, yeah.
add that.
Yeah.
Add a page for Greek revival, and
So who has control of or influence on the trees that are planted?
On what?
The trees on Main Street.
City trees?
There's a whole,
Because the
That's-
trees,
So there's
the
a.
tree-
the
That's Shade Tree Commission.
Shade Tree Commission.
We just met last week.
and I think they have now a landscaper qualified. One of my friends just got on that shade tree. She loves it.
nice.
They have somebody that's really helping with trying to know the right trees to plant in our city that will last and,
That's the arborist.
Huh?
That's the arborist.
Yeah.
Jim Jenkins with Davy Tree.
So are they changing the trees? Because they do mask off some of the buildings. I think it's
So
some,
maybe trim the branches, prune them a little bit, thin them out.
or there's some missing, maybe they're gonna change the species, I don't know.
So I was told by my predecessor that originally they were known as 20-year trees,
Oh,
and
time's up.
time's up. Right, no, you're right, and boy, that's a tough decision. I don't know who's gonna make that, city council or Shade Tree, to cut them down and plant new ones. I mean, you go to, not too long ago, I was in Pittsburgh, and they have trees 3 stories high. But all those branches are gone until they get to the top.
I had one of them that I planted about 20 years ago behind my building, and in the windstorm, half of it came down. So it's,
So it's,
20
that's,
years is probably it.
well, it's kind of the catch-22. People want trees, And it, it softens it downtown, but then you can't see the signs,
Can't see the
business sign,
buildings, can't see the signage.
unless you're on the sidewalk walking.
I've seen them where birds gather, and there's problems there too. It's interesting.
That'd be shade tree.
Well, we don't need to get into that.
But this was an interesting section too. I enjoyed looking at it. That's why I think overall this is going to be a nice document for the website for folks that are interested in learning.
Very nice document.
Any other questions on 5? Concerns? Move on to 6.
No. Again, I think the way this is laid out with general recommendations going through and letting people know how to handle missing elements and how to handle deteriorated elements. And if they're planning on doing something and they read this, they'll have a good idea of what's expected.
One thing that I thought of on page 4 of the 6th thing was, under recommendations, and this is probably a touchy subject that we shouldn't talk about, but maybe we should. Are they funded properly? Are they underfunded? Is that something that we can ask or touch on? Because when a building project's underfunded, it often is a problem.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know. If we can recommend that estimates and funding be in place, I don't know.
I don't think we can do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Don't disagree, but
They probably can't.
I mean, we have a couple prime examples of being underfunded.
Yeah. I can tell you, I've never had somebody come in my office and say, I'm rich. Tell me what you want, I'll do it. It's always the opposite. Really tight budget. It's really tight, so I really gotta watch my, numbers, so.
The house on Highland that's just east of Chestnut, with the big columns and the grandeur, I mean, that had a ballroom up on the 3rd floor, and just getting him to paint it was pulling teeth.
We attempted to
Have a
take
picture
him,
of that house in here somewhere.
we attempted to take him to court. And the inside is still really nice, except the kitchen was completely removed, but the ballrooms, everything is still there. His method of fixing was, I'm gonna start with a stained glass window on the 3rd floor facing north. And I said, no, we want you to start on the south side, please. And then he had to rebuild those columns in epoxy, and he did everything by himself, so that's why. And we at least required him to prime 10 years ago. Now he's gotta do it again, because he never put the finished coat on. But anyway, beautiful house inside, it really is.
Yeah.
Jennings.
Yeah.
No, that was, my understanding was that was based on the 1907 World Fair house in Chicago.
So it was
Somebody
the
built
Jennings
it.
family.
Was that the Jennings family that,
No, founders of Quaker Oats built my house where I grew up.
right,
Jennings
yeah,
House.
so this was the big one Ted's talking
The
about.
other one was my uncle, who ended up owning it. He put siding on it, then the next person tore it off. Found out that they couldn't afford the heating, but they did something inside. Well, they lost the house, actually. And the fellow that has it now, way back when we did a talk on the historic district, and he got all my notes, and I thought he was really blaming us for doing anything he did. But I didn't know
He
that.
blamed us too. Yeah, he blamed building
Now I-
department.
He said his wife wanted a house, and he keeps working on it. They don't live in it, do they?
They didn't, but the last 6-8 months, I've seen a car there more often, like all the time. I don't know that.
They plan to, but quite a few
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, there was a boiler in the basement the size of that table. Looked like a spaceship.
Well, page 4 is looking for a summer photo with flowers, and we certainly have the opportunity to do that. We got flowers.
Nice.
I like the comments in here about sidewalks and the various things, that bigger's not better. A little narrow sidewalk going up to the front porch is sometimes better than putting in a 6-foot wide concrete, putting a little 2-foot wide brick that's more in keeping and. So they're asking for Ravenna flowers twice in 3 pages or 4 pages here. I guess we can get two different snapshots of stuff.
I don't know what we're gonna do about photovoltaic cells. It goes under the roof approval, I guess.
Ray Harner's putting about 65,000 square feet up on the roof of his building.
I leased my farm in Cheathersville to the cell.
He's got 2 of the, what do you call them, the computer. Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah.
One of them's got 1,200 computers in there.
That's what I heard.
They're running on 416 volt. I'd never heard of that before. Tremendous power. Drawing tremendous power. I don't even know if 65,000 square feet of panels up on the roof will be able to power that. He owns a substation.
That's an acre and a half. I leased 30 acres. We'll see what that produces.
Anything else in 6? If not, we'll move on to 7.
I haven't seen a new building built downtown or in our historic district for a long time. When the house burnt on Main Street next to the corner of Liberty, her original intent was to rebuild. That's why I allowed her to leave the garage there. So she ended up buying the house across the street, which was the old law office, which is an enormous house for her and her boyfriend, husband. I don't know if they're married, but she hasn't put it up for sale, but
Is that Bill Lewis's old house?
yeah. The
Is
other
that a
law
bed
office.
and breakfast, or was it?
No, the law, I'm talking about the law office that's across the street.
That's Colette's old house.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You guys are around longer than me. I don't know who these people are. I just know it is a law office.
Yeah, right, it was a law office. It was an insurance office too, after Colette's moved out, and it was partly insurance and then law.
Okay.
Then it was sold to those people that lived across the street after their house burned.
Yeah. So she took the money that she received from insurance and then bought,
Yeah,
instead of building. And then Alan Baylog's sister-in-law, they had talked about building, bought the 2 houses, tore them down, combined the lot, or consolidated the 2 lots, and then decided to go somewhere else.
yeah, they bought Herb Kane's house on Murray.
Correct.
Put a lot of money into that.
A lot of money in that.
Well,
Took down his bulletproof wall.
Wait, whose house are you
He had a
talking
wall
about?
on the inside built.
Herb's
window.
house on Murray,
Yeah, I didn't hear you say Herb, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
then she's redone everything
right.
lately.
Building, I don't know, building something out back, or, I don't know.
It would be neat to see a new home built. but
Yes,
I hear the cost would be astronomical to meet the historic standards, but I don't think it would be. You build, especially looking at some of these other homes, like the Foursquare, for instance. It wouldn't be crazy expensive to build a brick facade Foursquare with a couple historic features that would match. But there seems to be a perception of way too expensive to build in a historic district. And I think those lots are neat because you have access on the alley, you know, and plenty of room to do certain things.
Right, you don't even have to have a drive off of Main,
Correct. Yeah, but just,
those two lots. Yeah. So when you build it, no, I'm just, all right. Anything else in 7? Anybody wants to talk about?
Yep, I think 7's well done.
Okay, on to 8.
short one, short section. And really this, what Ted was kind of alluding to, chapter 39, chapter 34 in the commercial code addresses historic buildings. So there's certain things that a code doesn't require in existing buildings. They pulled that on the Phoenix building, pulled out chapter 34. Charles Kokorin shows up representing whoever the architect was, and he, you guys probably don't, maybe you know who he is, but he pulls this out right away. 34, it's like, we're gonna use this. We don't have to do these things. Okay, they did half of them anyway. We're not gonna move the stairway, which was right at the base of the door. You know which one I'm talking about. They still slid it back, you know, which, okay, that's cracked me up. Of all the people that's gonna argue, he was arguing. All right, we'll move on. That was a short section.
Anything else in 8? 9? Oh, wait,
We're already in 9, Lou.
oh, we are, well, okay then.
9 is a section you can't fight anyway. There is no fight in section 9.
Yeah, there's no fight in 9 anyway.
No, 9 is Department of Justice.
So now we're in 10.
Yeah, and to step back a section, or a second, what ODOT did to the streetscape was their way of meeting ADA standards. I wasn't and couldn't fight them and tell them they couldn't do what they were doing unless we were going to pay. We still paid for all of that, but it is to meet their new guidelines.
We changed block 1. We met with them and changed block 1, remember, Ted? We raised the roads
Oh, okay.
and we paid. We shared the cost with the city.
Okay. Yeah. I don't like what they did. I thought they were going to wrap the truncated domes around instead of just plating them the way they did.
Yeah, I thought the workmanship by that concrete crew was poor.
Yeah. So I see, it looks like we're gonna have a
They
couple
have little
puddles.
slugs of concrete here and there, and they just, it wouldn't have taken much to miter those
Right.
tiles and just done a truncated thing rather than one in concrete and one in concrete and one in, they just,
They didn't do a base under them either. I mean,
Under the concrete?
under the brick.
well, they didn't put brick back. They
didn't
tore
Well,
all
there
the
were some brick strips. I mean, they settled, so there must not have.
There was no concrete on the original streetscape, no.
But all of the corners they did, they tore all the brick out and concrete them. They
Well,
didn't
you
put any
fixed
brick
most
back
of
in.
them.
Well, they
their
did, they had to.
workmanship is
That's part of the.
It's a good thing they didn't do mine then.
Well, they're going to. They're gonna get to yours. That was an oversight. I think the plans called, they weren't supposed to do the north side, they were supposed to do the south side. They went ahead and turned out the north side, which they shouldn't have. So now ODOT has to come back, or the contractor has to fix it. That's part of the code. They don't meet the ADA standard and they have to, so they will replace those.
So the ones they missed on the south side,
Yeah.
I'll just have to sit there with a chair and watch them.
You should. You should.
Smoke a cigar and drink a bourbon.
Because in 2018, ODOT did those on the north side, because that was part of their paving project, when they paved Freedom Street.
But there's still problems on Freedom.
They
Where
tore
water
those out,
settles.
and they shouldn't have tore them out, because they met the code in 18, and the ADA code hasn't changed since 18.
No, okay.
But, you know, to be cooperative with them, I just simply said, when you gonna do the south side? And let them figure out why it didn't get done.
Where are we at? I lost track. Oh, 10. Anything in 10?
Now, this bothers me a little bit, that on the left side,
Appendix C?
pardon me?
Appendix C bothers you?
No,
Okay.
regular maintenance of a structure, it starts the paragraph on the left side, second one. Fully evaluate the building conditions before rushing to the local store for materials. That doesn't seem like that should be in
What page are you referring?
there. I'm on front page of,
Front page, okay.
Left column, second paragraph.
Second
Regular
paragraph.
maintenance.
I rush sometimes, but, as you know, Mr. Finney, but, I try not to, right? I don't know if we need that, that dialogue in
Fully evaluate.
Actually, for the average person, it belongs in there.
there. Okay, okay, I'll sit corrected.
Yeah, there's Appendix B showing up again.
Anything else in 10? Then we're into section 11.
Got John of Biden's night depository in there. He'll be happy about, would have been happy about that.
Yeah.
So on page 2, are we going to change the word moving to relocation? Or we're going to leave it as moving?
Let's leave it moving, 'cause the front page says demolition and moving.
Okay.
But everywhere else in the document, it's called relocation.
Okay, demolition and relocation.
Well,
Change the heading,
to be consistent, it should say relocation rather than
change the
moving.
heading, and the
Yeah.
paragraph top.
Yeah,
Demolition and relocation?
yeah.
Now reload.
Anything else?
Nope.
So are we gonna request them to submit a signed document recommendation so that we can review it?
Yeah, so I need a,
Signed document.
I will need a motion for submitting
Eric.
our comments to them and changes that we've asked.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Eric, what were you asking for? A signed?
Signed, not signed.
Oh,
Sorry.
sign, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll reach out to them and just remind them that these other two documents should be reviewed also.
One of the three.
Larry, you have any comments?
One fact I think you'll want to check, I've been told the number on the old Phoenix building is not the date it was built, it's the Oddfellows Lodge number.
So noted.
I don't know how many years that building was up before the Oddfellows facade went on it. Because that intricate Oddfellows facade was put on the building a number of years after the building was constructed. Because there's pictures of that block that don't have the Oddfellows detailing on it.
Plain-looking building. Plain.
Never seen those.
Plain to see.
So I need a motion to adjourn?
Can I just say,
Oh, shoot.
I want to ask, I know we discussed this before, I just would like to say, how do we tell somebody when they have a building, a new building, they buy property, that they have to go through?
So it's not uncommon, we've discussed this before.
That's educating the realtors.
Yes.
Right,
Realtors.
and I have your information, I haven't finished it yet. I haven't forgot, though. We were gonna try it with the realtors. The other is, it's not uncommon for us, in the building zoning, to receive a question, can this activity go on at this location? Meaning, can I have this type of store at this location? Or is it a permitted use? And then we can discuss with them, yes or no, just know it's a historic district, under historic guidelines, renovations and things. So that's one way.
Thank you.
Ultimately, when we're done with this document, we'll have it on the website, and folks hopefully would, we can point them to the website and they can see if they're in the historic district or not.
Yeah, and I try to, if I see a realtor's sign go up that is not necessarily from Ravenna or knows about that area, the district, historic district, I try to reach out to that person to let them know that they may want to check on it, because it is, and go from there. Okay? Because a lot of times a homeowner, an example was the house on the southwest corner of mine went on the market last year, and I let the agent know that, just to want to let you know that that house is in a historic district and there might be some questions regarding any exterior renovations. And she appreciated that because she didn't know, and the owner did not inform them either. So, the seller didn't, right, at the time. So, it depends on the sign and what's going on, too. Okay? Okay?
Thank you.
No problem. Now we have a motion to adjourn.
All the questions.
Call the question? Aye?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
Thanks, Julie.
Sure.
Come on, Julie, you got,
I'll be in touch.
Okay.
All right.
Is this left over from council?
Get that done.
Their goals, 1, 2, 3, and 4, create a vibrant community with an active downtown, encourage future development and revitalization, develop a flexible land use, community services that support